joined by Jim Owczarski, Bucks beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Jim, the Bucks are fixed. They're fixed. It's over. Whatever was broken is no longer broken. They're going to win the NBA title. That's definitely where we're at now. It's been such a roller coaster this year, and it feels like since the All-Star break. I mean, they haven't lost a game since the All-Star break as we record this on Monday morning, so that could change quickly, but there is something different about this team since Doc Rivers took over. It's easy to draw the line and say that is what has changed. Is that oversimplifying? Is there more to it than just saying Doc Rivers has ideas about how to run this offense and defense that is maximizing their potential? Is there more that we're not considering, like the quality of competition perhaps? I mean, give me a sense of where you see this Bucks team right now.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a reason the Bucks made the change, to fire Adrian Griffin at 17 games over 500, because they knew the end goal was to be playing in June, and the way they were trending probably wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And why was that? The defensive intensity, the defensive effectiveness was bottom third of the league, if not worse. Doc Rivers shows up, JR, and immediately it's changed. They are since January 29th, they are a top 5 defense in whatever sort of metric or raw stat that you would like to look at. And guess what? There aren't great schemes or new developments or different players. Yes, Patrick Beverley is there, but Pat Bev is playing about 15 minutes a game, JR.
Right.
It's the same guys for 30-plus minutes. And what's the difference? Doc Rivers comes in, clear messaging, clear game plans. This is what you're doing. This is why you're doing it. And yes, you better do it. and that's Damian Lillard to Giannis Antetokounmpo to Jay Crowder, et cetera, JR. And so, look, they look like the Mike Budenholzer Bucks in a lot of ways defensively. Brook Lopez is dropping. He's protecting the rim. Giannis is flying around, doing Giannis things. And yes, Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley and Pat Connaughton, the guys up at the top, JR, do they have their limitations? Yes, that didn't suddenly change. They are not suddenly the best individual defenders. The difference is they know what they're doing, they know why they're doing it, and they're more connected in doing it. And it's led to much better defensive success. Offense, still a work in progress. Chris Middleton has missed 10 games. Dame was hurt a little bit before the break, so stuff as they get towards the end of the year here, JR. But they're winning because teams aren't scoring 1/3 of them anymore, and that's the biggest change, the biggest difference since Doc Rivers took over.
Yeah, I think it's 7 of 9 in their last 9 games going into this Monday night game against the Los Angeles Clippers that they've held teams under 100 points. I'm not sure I expected this team to hold anyone under 100 points. Even the Charlotte Hornets, no disrespect, but kind of disrespect intended there. And the Bucks have done that here a couple times. They are now in second place in the Eastern Conference standings. I don't think second and third make a difference, whether or not they end up there or the Cavaliers leapfrog them. But I do think getting ahead of that 4th spot makes a difference because it means not facing Boston. Boston's running away with this. It's not even about Boston anymore. It's about positioning yourself and being at your best. You mentioned Chris Middleton, getting him healthy, and getting to the point where you can compete in a 7-game series in which Boston will be the home team. I don't know if you feel differently about that, if you think that they would care about being a top 4 seed at this point, now that that's back kind of within reach, but it sure feels like that would be the goal. And like you said, with the defense the way it's been, they put themselves in that position. Am I characterizing that correctly? You think like top 3 or kind of bust here? That's what the Bucks are aiming for in the regular season?
Look, I think as Doc had said at practice, JR, like his dream scenario, like if any year would be to have everything clinched, with 10 games remaining. And the Bucks have been in that situation in years past. He knows that's not the case. Look, I think the winners on this team, i.e. the guys who had been champions, I don't think really cared. 3 seed, they've won it. They haven't won it as the 1 seed. Like, they've sort of run the gamut. I think ownership would have preferred, a top 3 seed because you get more home games potentially. And obviously, as players playing at Fiserv Forum, much better. They're 24-7 at home, 16-14 on the road, right? And obviously, some of that skewed with the previous regime. The 2nd seed would be great. you get these other teams. You get these. First of all, you get a play-in team, JR, right, who's already having to run through the gamut. You get to be at home, and if it's Boston on the other side, you're not seeing them until a few weeks down the line. And as the Bucks have found, you don't always know. You can't assume that that's what's going to happen, right? I don't necessarily think they're afraid of the Celtics, to be honest, JR. Their issues might be, staying out of that immediate Cleveland, New York thing. Like, that's probably a less desirable first-round matchup. I don't think they're thinking of that now, however. And climbing into the 2 seed, though, in a broader sense, I think is, best case scenario is they're 8.5 out with 20 to play. Like, that's a little too pie in the sky to catch a 1 seed. But separating themselves a little bit from 3 and 4. Well, actually, they've already separated themselves from 4, I think, JR.
They have, yeah.
It's the 3 avoiding an extra sort of matchup with Cleveland or New York. I think that's that pain in the butt sort of series, JR, that you want to avoid in that first round.
I do think the MVP conversation is interesting because I don't feel like Jason Tatum is going to wrestle it away, even though Boston is far and away the best team on this side of on this conference. So I do think there's still an opening for somebody to kind of contend with Nikola Jokic and other guys that might be seen as more of a front runner than Giannis Antetokounmpo. And if the Bucks resurrect themselves, if they go from where they were, I say resurrect kind of in quotes because, again, the record has always been really good, but go from a team that looked like it was slipping out of contention to being that contender to winning big down the stretch. Another big West Coast trip is coming up. They'll get a lot of visibility that way. I do think Giannis is going to get some attention on this front. The last straw poll by Tim Bontemps shows that Giannis is nowhere in that race. Is that going to be the case, you think, over the course of the year, or do you think there's a real possibility here that he sort of, as the Bucks rise, he also rises back into that conversation?
Yeah, so this is interesting, JR. Like, it feels like he's not in the conversation based on that straw poll from ESPN. And look, last year, I thought he played his best basketball. 2 years ago, I thought he had played his best basketball.
Yeah.
I think he's a better player now than he was when he was winning MVPs. And unfortunately for him, at first he was sort of put in that bucket. Well, you can't win MVPs anymore until you win a title. And then they win the title. And then Nikola Jokic does Jokic things. And then Joker puts in that bucket, right? Of, well, you can't win more until you win a title. Well, now he's done that. Mm-hmm. And so now you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Oklahoma City is now maybe the best team in basketball. And he's the shiny new name and face. You're right. Jason Tatum, I think, is feeling – so he never won the individual award Giannis did. But now Tatum is having you're great, but you also have this great team. And also, I think some people are like, well, Jason Tatum hasn't won anything either. And you know my thoughts on that. It's a regular season award. I don't think playoffs and finals should impact this at all. But yet we know, JR, it does. And so Giannis has checked those boxes. He is having, to me and to many, his best season. 30-plus points a game. I think he's averaging over 7 assists per game since Doc took over, a career high in assists. JR, he is averaging, he's doing this while shooting well over 60% from the field. And that has never been done in NBA history. No player has ever scored 30 a game while making at least 60% of his shots. That's incredible. He's in the rare air of Oscar and Bob McAdoo and Wilt and some of these other great players for what he's doing right now. But you're right. He's sort of just like he doesn't feel connected to the actual MVP race. And look, I participate in Tim Bontemps' straw poll. And I will admit in the early stages of it, I did not have Giannis as MVP. But to show you how this changes, I also did not have Giannis MVP at the start of this last year. And by the time I cast the vote as Milwaukee's representative, he was my MVP vote. I think things change throughout the whole year. And I think as this is going, JR, the record does hurt him because I don't know if nationally people understood just how much he was doing to help the Bucks be 30-13. You know, I think that's why this stretch, if they can rattle off, if they can go, you know, win 20 of their final 30-something games under Doc, and they win 50-plus games, maybe there's a realization of, oh, he was doing a lot to help Adrian Griffin along. And yeah, I think Joker and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are in that mix. But I do think Giannis can get there. Will he win it? History of that poll, JR, says probably not. But it's worth him being in the conversation maybe a little more than he is, because it's the year he's having is his best season. It's his best season. And you don't always win the MVP in your best season. I think clearly, like, he's won MVPs 4 or 5 years ago now, JR. That was a while ago. Yeah. 2018 seems like a lifetime ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but I don't know. I think he deserves it. Deserves at least to be in that conversation of top 2, 3, and definitely deserves to be in a closer race than that latest straw poll that we saw from ESPN.
Yeah, I did not realize he's 5% better from the field right now than he was back when they won the title, which was his best year in the past 5. He's at 62%. He was at 55% the last 2 seasons. That's wild to me. And he's got a career high 6.3 assists per game. You mentioned that's even gone up since Doc Rivers took over. 30 points a game. That's insane. Like, you don't even appreciate it now. He's taking fewer 3-pointers. So that has helped the percentages, I think, a little bit there. But wow, I didn't know. I guess I didn't. Obviously, he takes over games. I know he's really good. It's just you don't realize until you look at the stat lines. Wow, they really are. He really is having his best year. So we'll see.
And there's the defensive element, JR. Like,
for sure,
it bothered him that he was not an all defensive team, first team last year, and so I think he had that chip. And guys like Giannis who get a chip on their shoulder are going to be a problem anyway. And now Doc, again, moving it back to this sort of other like this early Bud era. Like, Giannis is flying around. He's getting the 1+ blocks, the 1+ steals per game. He's defending. Now, look, Adrian had his issues, but yes, Giannis guarded some of the best individual players on the other team this year, right? We talked about this. There were times where he was one-on-one against Tatum or Jimmy Butler or whomever. You're going to see that. You're going to see it in the playoffs. He's ready for that and willing for that. So, yeah, that's all part of the total package. If you want to win MVP, for him, one of Giannis's differentiating factors, if you will, is his defensive ability. And, again, JR, we're seeing that in different ways this season.
Yeah. I think a couple things have to happen that are out of his control to some degree. Well, first of all, I think the Bucks need to stay on this track and be a top 2, 3 team. I think the Oklahoma Thunder need to fall off a little bit because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a heck of a story, and the Thunder crushing people, like that's going to be tough to deny. And I think the Nuggets have to finish slightly below where they were last year because I think Nikola Jokic is still kind of irresistible for a lot of voters, and we'll see. We'll see if those things come together, but Giannis is giving it his best shot. He is Jim Owczarski, Bucks beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Read everything he has at jsonline.com. We will be back in touch with you again soon. Oh, and if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe, of course, so that you can get more videos like this one. We'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.